And so it is with great pride that I present to you the 17th Dean of this great law school, Timothy S. Fisher.
Thank you, Professor Pomp. It is now my pleasure to welcome all of you to the 91st commencement of the University of Connecticut School of Law. We are graced by the presence of many distinguished guests this morning, and I'd like to introduce and welcome those who are on the podium. In the back row, from your right, the Honorable Ingrid Maul, Judge of the Connecticut Superior Court and President of the University of Connecticut Alumni Association. Next to her, former UConn Dean and current Dean of the Northeastern School of Law, Dean Jeremy Paul, Louise Bailey, Trustee of the University of Connecticut, and Ms. Marilda Gandara, Class of 1978, Trustee of the University of Connecticut, Dr. Andrea Dennis Levine, Trustee of the University of Connecticut, Mr. Richard T. Carberry, Jr., Trustee of the University of Connecticut, Ms. Lisa Dar Rodino, Registrar, and Professor Robert Whitman, Professor of Law and Mace Bearer. In the front row, from your right, Professor Richard D. Pomp, the Alva D. Loisel Professor of Law and University Marshal, Mr. Lawrence D. McHugh, Chair of the University of Connecticut Board of Trustees, Dr. Susan Herbst, President of the University, Mr. Barry Scheck, Professor at the Benjamin N. Cardozo School of Law and co-founder of the Innocence Project and our distinguished speaker for today's ceremony, and Ms. Leslie Levin, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Professor of Law and Law Marshal. We are also delighted to recognize and welcome Robert Monstream and the Honorable Samuel Teller, both of the class of 1964, who celebrate their 50th anniversary as law school graduates. Please join me in welcoming Attorney Monstream and Judge Teller as they rise. Where are you guys? You didn't rise, Judge. He's really there. So, welcome, class of 2014, to your commencement. You did it. And what a wonderful day. By dint of hard work, you've earned this moment, and now you're ready to make a difference in the world. Indeed, you will do great things. Free an innocent man. More on that later. Rescue a child from dysfunction or institutional disregard. Save a refugee from torture or persecution in her home country. You may make new value for a client by structuring a creative deal or simply help a client out of a dismal situation. Above all, you can find a way to give a voice to the powerless. For the rule of law cannot assume its full meaning unless it's available to the weak and the poor, just as it is to the strong and the powerful. You'll do these great things because you've learned here that the law is not just about knowing the rules. It is about seeing new ways to build strong institutions, helping to structure the organizations that serve and employ our people. It's also about a deeper sense of social order that enables you to bring about change. This is what makes this the greatest profession, not because of the pay and not because of the prestige, although prestige it'll bring you. Rather, because there is no limit on what you can do with what you've learned here. No limit because your minds are your most important asset, and there is no greater investment you could ever have made of time or money than what you have accomplished here in your years with us. We've given you two core skills, critical thinking and clear communication. With those, you can find your way to elusive truths and to explain them in ways that change how others understand the world. By dint of your thoughts and expression alone, you are becoming leaders, not someday, but today, because you will help others see how to follow you to new insights. You will bring honor to the name on the degree that you carry. Indeed, you have already represented the school to the communities around us through your summer jobs, your internships, your externships, your public service, and your pro bono work. We thank you for this because it is through this work that the world sees UConn, and you convey to the world that UConn law graduates make the best lawyers and the best leaders. You came here without illusions. You knew that this would not be an easy path to material rewards, but you trusted us, and you came at a time when some were saying that law school was a risky choice. You listened to a calmer voice. And you chose to invest yourself not for easy, quick returns, but rather with confidence in yourself and your school, you positioned yourselves for exciting and rewarding futures. And remember, it's not about your first job or even the first few years out of school. It's what you do over the course of your entire career that's going to make a difference. We have enjoyed you tremendously. And we hope you've enjoyed us, not just the faculty who have taught you new ways of thinking, but the staff who have cared for you in ways that you know and many others that you don't. And I have to give a special shout out to the facilities team, and Jim, Gary, Greg, and Tom, and your supporting cast of hardworking students. Thanks to you, we have this beautiful campus, and we're not all sitting in a sea of mud. And I want to thank in particular the leaders of the school. Leslie Levin, who has been our academic dean for the last 2 years. And Willa Jean McLean and Jeremy Paul, who led this institution during the years that you were here and did so much to make sure of the quality of the UConn law degree that you'll carry with you when you leave. Thank you so much, Jeremy. You have transformed yourselves from students to professionals. Before you arrived, you got ahead mostly by learning what teachers taught you. But here at UConn Law, you've learned to think for yourselves. And where you're heading, you're going to need that because that is the core of our system of law. It's not for the faint-hearted. Where the answers are straightforward, your clients won't need you. Your clients will come to you where the simple answers don't provide the answer to their problems. That is where your UConn Law graduation will pay its dividends. And it won't be easy. There will be times, usually unannounced, that will test your character. Those moments and the way you handle them will be the markers by which others remember you the most. Take heed when those moments come, for the power that the law invests in you is seductive. For in the process of making you experts in giving reasons, we've also made you experts in rationalization, using clever argument and verbal skill to justify conduct. You'll be pressed by clients to provide such rationalizations, but most dangerously, you'll feel an urge to use it to excuse your own conduct. Those moments are certain to come to you. Please resist. Each time you succumb to those ethical shortcuts, you diminish yourself a bit more, and left unchecked, we know where that leads, to an empty shell of a professional whose only idea of the truth is whatever he or she can get away with. That is the great risk you have assumed in acquiring the power we have given you. You must count on others, your family, your friends, to keep you grounded. And as Jessica Signor advises in her op-ed in this morning's commencement piece of the student newspaper Pro Se, and I quote, "Being a good lawyer means being able to evaluate yourself with the same critical eye that you would the legal merits of any case." That kind of self-disciplined thought will be your trusted guide as you become wise counselors and leaders. This is just the start of our relationship. That's why we call it commencement. You have seen what is possible here on this campus, thanks to the generosity of others who've provided these buildings and this community of scholars and teachers. Your chance is now coming to make a difference, if not here, then somewhere. Our friends, we're going to miss you. Remember to stay in touch, bring back some of your learning. You'll always be part of our community. So, class of 2014, I salute you. I acknowledge and honor the hard work that you have done to reach this moment and wish you all a wonderful career in the days and years ahead. Thank you. But first, I have the distinct honor to introduce your commencement speaker. For we have with us today a true hero of the law. Every once in a while, someone sees the potential of a new path, a new way of seeing the world, and Barry Scheck is such a person. He started out as many idealistic young lawyers do. After graduation from Yale and law school at UC Berkeley, he and his colleague Peter Neufeld were public defenders in New York, working out of the Bronx courthouse, that cauldron of human affairs so vividly portrayed in The Bonfire of the Vanities. And meanwhile, Barry had joined the faculty at the Cardozo School of Law. Then he had a vision. As DNA technology was advancing in the 1980s and 1990s, Barry and his colleague first saw the potential of the biological evidence left at many crime scenes that enabled them to test scientifically the connection alleged between the crime and their client. But they went further. They recognized the systemic potential of this technology, not just the proof of a single wrongful conviction or wrongful accusation, but the chance to shine a national spotlight and engage the entire country in an overdue recognition of the flaws in some parts of our criminal justice system. They went on to found the Innocence Project in 1992, and in doing so, changed the world. The results of the Innocence movement are staggering. From the work of the Innocence Project alone, as of today, over 300 people who had been convicted and sentenced have been freed upon proof of their evidence, 18 of whom were on death row. We know the human cost of these wrongful convictions, hundreds of years of collective time in prison, most of them by persons of color, thereby exacerbating the racial disparities of our system. False closure imposed on victims and families, while the guilty went on to commit new crimes, injuring and sometimes killing new victims after the police had already closed their files. In fact, through the efforts of the Innocence Project, some 50% of all these cases, the true perpetrator has been identified through that DNA evidence. I also want to pause for a moment to acknowledge a special connection between UConn and the Innocence Project, because the policy director of the Innocence Project is our own Stephen Saloom, UConn Law, class of '96, UConn undergraduate, class of 1990. For those of you who received your copies of the UConn magazine in the mail yesterday, there's a profile of Stephen on page 10. And no, we didn't plan it that way, but I will say, if we didn't have proof already of your wisdom, Barry, we now see it in your astute hiring practices. So, we have with us today living proof of Barry's vision. The Connecticut Innocence Project was founded some 10 years ago through cooperation and support from the state's attorney's office and the law enforcement community, and through their incredible efforts, freed 3 exonerees who are now out of prison: James Tillman, Miguel Roman, and Ken Ireland, who collectively served over 50 years in prison for crimes they did not commit. We honor these 3 men for their courage not to plead out to a shorter time when that meant confessing to a lie. for giving us a human symbol and reminder of the imperfections of our systems, and above all, for what they endured. We ask them to accept our thanks and our respect for their courage and strength. James Tillman and Ken Ireland, will you please stand? I'm happy to say that while Miguel Roman cannot be with us today, his reason is in itself a celebration of life because he is at his daughter's college graduation. For the parents here, I think you can imagine the feelings that Miguel is experiencing this morning. But for Barry Scheck's vision and the Innocence Movement, he would be behind bars and not present to watch his daughter cross her stage. We also honor the many people who took up Barry Scheck's challenge and brought these men home to their families. We have with us the leadership of the Connecticut Innocence Project, as well as the public defenders and the state's attorney's offices, and a host of supporting team members who helped find the truth and then support these exonerees once they were released. Judge Karen Goodrow, Darcy McGraw, Joan O'Rourke, Brian Carlo, Jerry Smythe, Kevin Kane, Len Boyle, John Motley, Rosemary Payne, and Professor Tim Everett. Will you all please stand? There's something else that we must add about this remarkable group of people. Following the example set by Barry Scheck and the Innocence Movement, they have not stopped at their re-examination of the cases of the exonerees brought to their attention, but have revisited the very structures of Connecticut's criminal justice system, creating new best practices for eyewitness identification, and thereby reducing the failures that have led to false convictions in the past. And so, I give you Barry Scheck, co-founder of the Innocence Project, godfather of the Innocence Movement, savior of many, inspiration to all. Ladies and gentlemen, Barry Scheck.